Hey guys, hope you're well. And in this video, I want to talk about what to do if the circumstances in your physical 3D world are actually very difficult and you don't know how to get out of them. So, in this video, I will be sharing a few tips about this, three specific tips to be particular. Now, I would love if all of you, if you have any tips of yourself that you try and that make you feel better, that you comment down below. Because the tips that I'm going to share are tips that work very well for me. But there might be someone who might just get benefit from your way of handling these things, because everyone has a different way of handling things, and sometimes we align with someone else's way of handling things in the first place. So write down in the comments what are the things that you do when you are feeling that your circumstances in the 3D are very difficult, so that someone else who might be more aligned to your idea can also get benefit from this. So let's get into it. The first step when you are facing a difficult circumstance is to allow yourself to feel. Let's understand this in detail. So when we get into the concept of manifestation, we start to learn about how you shouldn't worry about circumstances. Circumstances don't matter. They are not things that come up in the middle, and that circumstances can change. Although that is a very intriguing idea, and that is absolutely true, circumstances can change. In that moment, to the person who's feeling those circumstances, that doesn't feel true. So we assume that if circumstances can change and circumstances don't matter, that the circumstances we are feeling right now are not valid. That's not true. So even if circumstances can change, even if they should change, because that's the purpose and nature of reality, that doesn't mean that currently if they are going bad that they cannot make you feel bad. That's absolutely okay to feel that. We don't want to make ourselves believe that a feeling doesn't exist in this current moment. Now, this is not an indication and an invitation to make yourself dwell on it. That's a different thing. This is just to accept the fact that at this current moment the circumstance looks bad, and if the circumstance looks bad and I know that it can change, I can still feel bad about it currently. I will explain this to you with the help of an example. So I was talking to one of my clients recently, and she was going through this circumstance. So the person that she was manifesting, they went out on a date, and like she manifested contact from this person. This person reached out of the blue, and then they went out on a date. And after the date, the guy didn't reach out for 2 days, 2 3 days, something like this happened. Now the date went very well, and she was assuming negative things at that situation. So the first thing I told her was that it's totally fine if you're feeling bad that this person isn't reaching out, but we also need to understand that the meaning that we are assigning to this thing is something which might not possibly be true. We don't want to assign a meaning to this situation if there is no meaning that is absolutely given. So he hasn't reached out, that's the thing. We are providing it a meaning that that means something. That doesn't necessarily mean something. Now, as I'm telling this to her, she's starting to believe that, yeah, this does not really have to be a meaning. But the anxiety that she's feeling, the feeling of abandonment that she's feeling, the feeling of worry that she's feeling exists. And there is nothing wrong with feeling it. So, accepting that, yeah, I feel this way, and that's fine. It is not wrong to feel this way. It's just a normal part of the process to feel a feeling, and it's fine if I do feel it. What I will do is I will not dwell into this feeling. I will tell myself that circumstances can change, and that is good, because that is how every time circumstances have changed from good to bad, from bad to good. So this time too, that they will change. But I will not sit there and dwell on these feelings, but I will accept that they exist. This makes your feelings feel valid, right? And this makes the part of you feeling those feelings valid too. And in that moment, when that validity of these feelings comes out, we start to feel accepted by ourselves, which is very important. Now, after you are going to do that, you're going to be able to deal with circumstances better, and you're going to have an optimistic approach for the future. Every time you're going and getting a difficult 3D in your life, then you will be able to deal with this better. Now, the second tip on how to deal with difficult circumstances is, instead of trying to go positive, try to go neutral. So, a lot of times, what happens is, and I will make it a number thing, a numeric thing, so that it's easy to understand. Let's say our normal feeling state is zero, right? We normally feel zero, and we normally feel that throughout the day. And we have emotions around this that we always come back to zero. So, let's say I'm having a happy moment in a day and I go to 1 and 2, but eventually it normals out and I come to 0. Or let's say I have an irritating thing happen to me and I go to -2 and then I come back to 0 again. So 0 becomes my normal zone, right? Now, what happens is, as we are trying to think about living in the end, we are focusing on what we want, we usually tend to go to the feeling of 1, 2, 3. So we start to feel positive about this. And when there is a negative circumstance that comes into play, we start to try to go to positive again. So in that moment, for example, I've started to go to -3, which means I was feeling okay, normal, which was at 0, and then something happened. I saw something in the 3D that made me go to -3. Now, from that state, what we usually tend to do is, because we have had this state in our mind that we want to achieve, this feeling that we want to achieve, and we think that it's 3 or 4, or it's this positive feeling, right? And in that moment, when we are feeling that negatively, we try to instantly go to that positive feeling again. Now, even though if that is possible and you are able to do it in that moment, that's amazing. What I have seen is that people can struggle with it for a while because it is not something we have habitually done, and it's something that can take a little bit of time. In that time, instead of trying to go to the positive feeling, try to go to 0 again. So try to make yourself just feel a little bit better, because you don't want to invalidate your feelings and you don't want to push yourself into toxic positivity. So trying to make yourself feel a little bit better absolutely helps, because in that moment we have to see that it's one step above where we are. So if I'm at -3, even trying to feel myself a little bit better is -1 or 0. That in itself is better than where I was. And that will eventually help me get to the positive feelings again. That will help me get into the state of living in the end again. If you can instantly jump, that's perfectly fine. Do it. And there will be many manifestations where you will have confidence and when you will have that comfort into knowing that I can go from negative to instantly positive. So that exists. But if there is a possibility that you might experience a feeling where you might not be able to feel instantly better, then try to feel neutral first and then try to go to the positive path. That will immensely help you to get into a better state. Now, the third one, where if you are feeling negative circumstances, is to take a break. Now, when I say take a break, what does that mean? So, when we start this journey, we get engrossed into it, right? Usually, it starts with a set of techniques that we are doing, some ways through which we are trying to handle resistance, and some activities that we are doing to handle the negative thoughts and feelings and to make ourselves feel positive. Now, a lot of times, because techniques in themselves can be done from a purpose of just trying to make myself feel better, it can in itself create a lot of resistance because we are constantly expecting the positive. But sometimes what happens is there is a circumstance that you face and things are not going as positive as you thought they would, and you are feeling bad in that moment. In that moment, if we keep on doing techniques, again, if it makes me feel better, that's great. But if it isn't making me feel better, going into that direction doesn't really help. What I can do instead is I can take a break for 2 3 days. I can take the pressure off from myself to be in this positive, constant living in the end state all the time. You have to see that the things that you have in your life right now are things that you don't think about that much. And even if you think about that much, you don't think about them from the space of that I need to think positively about them, otherwise they will go away. For example, the phone that you're listening to this video from, you have this phone. Probably at some point in your life, you needed a phone, or your old phone was getting bad, and you thought that I would need this phone now. When you got this phone, you were feeling enjoyment and satisfaction and joy, right? It was a good feeling. The new phone came in, we set it up, it just feels amazing. But after a while, it starts to feel normal. We are not constantly thinking about the phone anymore. That's how you will feel once your manifestations come. Now, while you have this phone, can you have a bad day? Yes. Does that take away the phone? No. Similarly, once you will have your relationship or the money that you want, you will still have these feelings that you're feeling right now. Things can still sometimes be difficult. If you are in a relationship, there sometimes still can be fights. If you are, let's say, manifesting money that you and you are in a business, you can still face a low day or a week or a low month. These are normal parts and parcel of life. That doesn't mean that the relationship will be taken away or that you will never get money back. So in those moments, pushing techniques on this, if it makes you feel good, that's good, but a lot of times it can just create unnecessary pressure. And if it is creating unnecessary pressure for you, pause. Tell yourself, I don't need to create this pressure for myself right now. What I will do is I will take a break for a few days, and I will tell this to myself that my manifestation process and my manifestations are not going to get affected from that, because I am making this rule and assumption in my mind that my subjective experience will not be that affected if I'm just facing a circumstance or feeling bad for a day. So giving you this break and allowing yourself to feel will actually help you get over these feelings faster, because just tell yourself, today I will feel like a victim. You will probably do so for an hour, for two, for three. Force yourself to feel as bad as you want, but then it will naturally go away, which is what we are looking at. So I hope these steps help you to handle the circumstances. And it's totally fine if you're facing them. Everybody does. I have, other people have, and it's totally fine if you are too. You will eventually get out of this, because I know that you can. So I hope that you have a good day ahead, and I will see you soon.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe and share if you like the video. The link for my one-on-one coaching, my self-help courses, and my free newsletter are in the description box below.